Monsters, movies, and mayhem.
Thank you. Welcome back to Monsters, Movies, and Mayhem, aka MMM, or as I like to say, I'm your host, Murderface, and with me I got my special guest, Jeff. Jeff, would you like to introduce yourself?
Jeff here.
And Jeff, I know you're usually busy with your main job. What is it you do again?
I'm in a jazz band.
You're in a jazz band?
Yeah, I'm the trombone player.
Jeff, it was great to have you. I'll see you on the way out. Please, don't hold the door.
No, come on, give me one more.
You know what? I guess you can see I kind of dig it. I dig that joke.
Nice, real nice. So it's only okay if you do it.
Just for a little bit, one at a time. You know, you kind of tickle my funny bone a little bit.
Okay. Funny bone's good.
I like it. And well, we're gonna be looking at a movie that we've been really digging. All right, I'll stop at that. It was really good. It's Bram Stoker's Dracula. Bram Stoker's Dracula. Have you seen it?
You know damn well, I have no eyes.
We'll listen to it because you have.
I have no ears either. It's a.
Well, I'm glad I picked you for co-host.
I'm kidding. It'll be fine. I saw it. It was great. I love this movie.
Well, yeah. What do you like the most about it?
Definitely not the vampires.
Well, why not? Why don't you like the vampires?
They suck.
I expect a lot of that. That's gonna happen a lot, but yeah, a lot of these jokes are gonna be hitting. They're gonna be holding my. I'm gonna be holding my stomach, which you don't. I guess you can't say you have.
No, I have no stomach.
It's okay. Bram Stoker's Dracula came out in November 13th, 1992. Do you remember 1992?
I remember 1892.
Good one. Yeah, you're 100 years old.
I might be a little older, but it's okay.
1992. This movie, I'm just gonna go straight into it, is probably my favorite vampire movie. Coming out in 1992. I mean, look at what came out in 1992. Home Alone.
What?
Home Alone 2. My bad. Home Alone 2.
Yeah, I was like, Home Alone 1 was not in 1992.
Candyman. Candyman came out. Dr. Giggles and Reservoir Dogs. I mean, it was a big year for movies. But Bram Stoker's Dracula, directed by, which might be a shock, Francis Ford Coppola, who also directed Dementia 13, Twix. Well, Twix came later on, and he was also one of the directors for The Terror, and he also did a small movie called The Godfather. What? You got a frog stuck in your throat?
Just a little bit. You're saying that he directed The Godfather?
And The Godfather 2 and 3. But because he made Godfather 3, Winona Ryder was supposed to be in Godfather 3, and he decided, no, not right now. I'm actually going to put my daughter in it. My daughter is going to be in The Godfather 3, and we'll save a role for Winona later.
Wow. I guess you could put your family instead of actual actors.
Well, seeing as how The Godfather 3 wasn't that great, I think Winona dodged a bullet, and she actually brought the script for Bram Stoker's Dracula to Francis Ford Coppola, and he did have like a vision for it, because so many Dracula movies have been pretty much trying to be similar to Bela Lugosi's Dracula. You know, you have to have like the widow's peak, the slick back hair, the fancy clothes. I mean, you have fancy clothes in this one too, but it was pretty much gonna be like Van Helsing is gonna kill him, pretty much. There was other Dracula movies like Daughter of Dracula, Dracula's. There's a lot of romance 70s movies with Christopher Lee, but he was but this movie is going to be starring Gary Oldman as Dracula. And Gary Oldman as Dracula, this was probably the first thing I saw Gary Oldman in, and I had no idea that he was in actually a movie that I haven't seen before, but I'm like, I can't believe he played this. He played Sid Vicious from Sid and Nancy, the movie, and that was probably the biggest role he had before Dracula. And he was playing Sid, and then 6 years after that, he became Dracula. But then after this came his role in Leon the Professional. Leon the Professional was a very big movie. He had that very famous line, like, "Send in everyone."
Everyone?
Everyone. That line was him. He made it very popular. A lot of memes came after that. But also Leon the Professional is a really good movie. And he played he played a very accurate description of a drug addicted detective. But he was the bad guy. And then after that he was in The Fifth Element. I couldn't even recognize him because of his accent. His accent was so thick in The Fifth Element. But that was also very big. But I think his biggest role after Dracula was FBI agent in True Crime Streets of LA on the PS2.
I mean, you know you made it when you become a voice actor in a PS2 video game with Snoop Dogg.
It's pretty big. But I mean, he was in a lot more roles after this. But the first time I saw him was Dracula, and it was great. Also starring in this movie is Winona Ryder as Mina, and I mean she was already a huge star when this came out. I mean, she had done Beetlejuice when she was younger, and
Heather.
Yeah, she was in Heathers. Heathers was great. She was also in Great Balls of Fire, Edward Scissorhands, and Mermaids. And she was also co-starring with Keanu Reeves at this time. But Keanu Reeves, he was playing as Jonathan Harker, and he pretty much only had like two movies at the time that he was like really well known for.
Was it Bill and Ted?
It was Bill and Ted, Excellent Adventure, and
Point Break.
Yeah, that's right, Point Break. He was in those two, but he was also just very famous for being in the. I mean, he was a celebrity because of those movies, but also because he was, like a model at that time. He was in everything, but he was an up and coming actor, and he played Jonathan Harker. And he got a lot of crap in the movie for his accent, but he only had those two movies to work off on. I mean, and how are you going to bring in your experience from Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure into Bram Stoker's Dracula, which was a huge deal at the time? But I think he got a lot of help from Gary Oldman and this actor, last but not least, Anthony Hopkins, playing Van Helsing.
Anthony Hopkins? Hannibal himself?
Yes, Hannibal himself from Silence of the Lambs. This was only a year after his Oscar award-winning role as Hannibal Lecter, and he's playing Van Helsing. So I'm sure that was like a big push for the movie to be like great. I'm sure like every commercial out there was, and Anthony Hopkins' Oscar award-winning role as Hannibal. He's going to be in Bram Stoker's Dracula playing Van Helsing, which was huge at the time because horror movies were not getting Oscars at that time, and this one was one of the first to get the Oscar. And he was really good. I mean, just coming off that role, he must have had a big like a big high coming off that, and then going straight to doing Van Helsing in Dracula. And I mean, the movie spared no expense either. The budget was $40 million. It grossed $215 million at the box office and won 3 Academy Awards for Best Sound, Costume, and Makeup. But the score in this movie, it really complements each scene so well. So when it's very intense, like the music grows, and when the scenes have very intimate moments, the music gets tense.
I mean, I don't have ears, but I can feel it in my bones. You know what I mean?
I mean, you got to feel it because it's so good. The scenes in this movie, just the score is really good, but the makeup is done very well too. Each monster looks terrifying, and at the same time, mesmerizing. From the vampire women to the werewolves, and especially Dracula himself, and the transition his character goes through is wild. I got a little upset when I was younger, when I first saw this, because I loved the effects so much. And I remember going to my library and reading a book about vampires. And I don't know who the writer of this book was, but he had a
A bone to pick.
he had a bone to pick with this movie, Bram Stoker's Dracula, because he hated the monsters. He said they look terrible, they look cheap. Why is Dracula big, huge bat near the end of the movie? But it's the amount of time that they spent on the effects, because I was watching the behind the scenes and all the artists that came together to make these monsters. It was, and they came out great, especially for 1982, and the to make it was all Gary Oldman in tons of different effects, because he was an old man Dracula. He was ancient times young Dracula, and then he was dying Dracula, and then huge movie monster bad Dracula. It was a lot. It was a lot to ask for him, but he was, especially coming off of just like a couple of movies, he was doing great. And it was a big collaborative work. It's also like the costumes. The costumes were done by Aiko Ishioka, and she did a great job. But I think the best thing she did was one of Dracula's last costumes. So she had never heard of Dracula before, and so when they were describing Dracula to her, she kind of used her like because she's Japanese, she made some of his outfits kind of look like kimonos, because she's going looking through her like monster lore back in the day. And when you're describing Dracula as being like this almost he is elegant vampiric monster, but he's also he was a man at first. And I mean, this story, it was they really pushed the romance. They were trying to sell the romance. Like, I mean, one of like the main lines from the movie is, the taglines is love undying. And so she gave him a kimono in one of these scenes, and seeing Dracula in a kimono is awesome. He looked really, really good, and way different from any of the other Draculas, because there's so many adaptations, but this one is definitely my favorite, because it combines Dracula with Vlad the Impaler. I know a lot of people, people just assume Dracula is Vlad the Impaler because they share similar
I don't know, guts, blood, something.
No, they have similar like events that happen in their life, because he was like he gets killed with wooden stakes going through the heart. He sucks people's blood, and Vlad the Impaler impaled people, but also drank some of their blood because he thought it would make him younger and he could stay alive longer. But I mean, in this one, they really combined the two, and they even Anthony Hopkins references it later on in the movie. He's like, no, this is Vlad the Impaler. So it's like, okay, in this one, it's gonna be Vlad the Impaler is basically Dracula. They're one and the same. And you make it really brings it together in the beginning, like right out of the gate. You see Dracula with a muscle armor, which is also a shout out to costumes and makeup, because Dracula 100% would have a muscle armor going into war.
I can't remember what muscles look like. I mean, I haven't seen them in so long.
Okay, muscles. It looks like it's just red, and they're it's like the human muscle, pretty much, just all over his body. And so he comes back from war, and he finds his wife dead because somebody threw a letter through his window saying, "Hey, we killed Dracula. Sorry, he's dead." And so she's like, she couldn't fact check it, so she just had to assume he was dead. And like, well, what am I gonna do without my husband? He's my life. My life is basically over, and all I want to do is see him. So what does she pulls the Romeo and Juliet reference, and she commits suicide jumping out of a window, which looks really cool because it's Winona Ryder falling. You see her jump out of the window, and it kind of cuts to just like, it looks like a doll falling through the clouds. It was all the special effects in this movie were, there was barely any CGI in it. They really made it look like, they tried to do every trick in the book to steer away from CGI. And when she commits suicide, Dracula shows back up to where she died, and he's like, where is she? And Anthony Hopkins, as like one of the church's like main pastors or like wise men, wastes no time. He's like, hey, your wife committed suicide, and he's freaking out. And so when he's like trying to find it, he finds the letter. He finds the letter because she had blood on it, and so he's putting two and two together. And Anthony Hopkins just, could not wait to rub it in Dracula's face. I mean, coming from a priest, saying to Dracula, "Hey, your wife is going to be going to hell, because she committed suicide. There's no way we can save her soul. She's damned." Dracula's pissed, and he renounced. First of all, you don't see Bela Lugosi's Dracula was like very serious most of the time, but Gary Oldman is known for having great like freakouts in his movies, like in Leon the Professional, the way he was yelling because he was so mad. It's just you got it from this. He got it from his scene where Dracula immediately was told, "Hey, your wife is damned because she committed suicide," and he freaks out, renounces God and his religion, and then stabs the cross, and therefore making it bleed, turning it into the set of like the hallway from The Shining.
Yeah, that was a great special effect. The blood was just pumping, and right out of the gate, it's very symbolic of the blood being the life when you stab the cross.
And so when this is in the first like 10 minutes, and it's very over the top. It's every scene is so entertaining, and the characters has lost so much. You sympathize for him until he starts doing some like fucked up vampire shit. But then he gives you those puppy dog eyes, like it's Gary Oldman. Like you can't be mad at him, But he was very good, and the whole like right out from the first 10 minutes, you get the vibe of what's going to happen from this movie. It's very good. Some things that I don't really like about it is the accents from Keanu and Winona. I mean, it's not something you can really like not like a movie for. Like you can get around it, but it is a good lesson to look back to for actors. If you can't do an accent, just don't. Because I mean, look at Scarlett Johansson, played a Russian Black Widow, speaks only English, and they just work around. If it doesn't work, don't force it. And I mean, also with like Joaquin Phoenix playing Napoleon Bonaparte, he won't speak with the French accent, and he won't speak French. Just don't do it. But another thing that I also didn't like was, so Anthony Hopkins is fresh off the set of Silence of the Lambs, and it could have been like I know it was going to be a reimagining, and it was going to have the original Dracula had Van Helsing is going to be fighting Dracula, and in this one, because it was so
it's so romantic.
Yeah, because it was going to have Mina is going to be killing Dracula. But if they would have gone with Van Helsing versus Dracula, and Van Helsing was being played by Hannibal Lecter himself, Anthony Hopkins, a year after he won an award for the movie, it would have been a huge like monster versus monster like mashup. But this monster is, you got to be a monster to hunt one. So like, who's going to be playing Van Helsing? Hannibal Lecter, and he's going to be facing off Dracula. That could have been like the biggest push for any movie ever, you know. But they wanted to steer away from Van Helsing doing that, and they kind of made him like this drunk uncle who won't stop talking about conspiracy theories. And
It's so me, by the way, just drunk all the time. It goes right through me.
yeah, of course it does. You got no stomach, and but he's supposed to be this like great professor of the occult and disease, but he lets like a bat bite him, and he just licks his wounds. That's not gonna help. And he's doing like blood transfusions, and he just uses anybody's blood, like it's gonna help, you know.
I mean, doesn't any blood? I could take anybody's blood right now. It would help me a lot.
Yeah, you need a little bit of color in your skin, lack thereof skin. But I mean, that's not too much. There's not too much that I don't like about this movie. The special effects were an homage to special effects throughout the history, you know, which I really like. Using lighting and shadows, layered effects over film were amazing. And all the side characters are great. Lucy, her three suitors, and Renfield, and
they were all really connected very well to each other.
Yeah, I mean, they all have their own moment, and then they all come back as a team. And sometimes, you know, I mean, when they were trying to get Lucy after she died, and they were going to her funeral. Well, not her funeral, but to her tomb, is one of like the best scenes that you could ask for, and in a vampire movie back in the 90s, because a lot of vampire movies had a lot of blood, but this one was, I mean, Sam Raimi must have been so proud seeing all this blood going on. Also, the scenes where the absinthe scene, where Mina asks Dracula about his homeland while they're drinking absinthe, and she ends up describing it for him, realizing that she must have known him in a past life, and therefore Dracula knows she must have a lineage to his first wife. And you can, the music, the score in the background is so tense, and it's really, you can see the characters just like they're putting together the pieces that you know are there, and they just make it. I mean, just feeling the tense situation, it really
It gets under their skin.
well, I mean, I don't know how you would know about that. You have no skin, but when the landscape of his homeland fades behind Mina, it looks awesome, because when she's describing it, they show it, but not like, you know, like it doesn't like transition, it fades behind her, and just the layered effects that happen in the movie makes every shot look so good. It's very entertaining from beginning to end. And you know, the movie ends similar to Bela Lugosi's version, except it ends with Dracula getting a stake through the heart, but it's from Mina. Mina is killing him instead of Van Helsing, which to me is more. I mean, I would have liked to have seen Van Helsing because it's, you know, Hannibal, but Mina killing him is more poetic because of the connection that they had when they were talking about his homeland, and plus he's been trying to get her for. Have you seen his former wife, you know, almost reincarnated and describing his homeland, you know, hundreds of years later? It was very poetic, but he knew he was going to die, so at least he got someone he really cared about to finish him off. It's not exactly Bram Stoker's Dracula, but it's 90s romance with a good amount of 80s camp, and it was really just like it's an ode to cinema and history of transitions. And I mean, I'll watch it like anytime it's on, but I'll also pop it in, anytime it's on. I feel like watching it. When you talk about vampire movies, it's top 5, easy, top 5 of anybody's list.
It didn't do too well when it came out.
It did really well. It's just people were so caught up on Keanu Reeves.
Those Bill and Ted accents.
I mean, you can't really fault him for that. It was originally supposed to be Johnny Depp. Or was it either Johnny Depp or Leonardo DiCaprio? One of the two was supposed to be in Keanu Reeves' role for Dracula, but because Keanu Reeves was so hot, because he still is, the studio was like, "No, we need Keanu. We need Keanu for this because we need that. We got to put his face on every trailer for this movie." Because I mean, it's Winona Ryder was already like a big star. She really pushed the movie. Anthony Hopkins for sure pushed the movie, and Gary Oldman he was really getting like becoming a household name in movies. But for him to play Dracula was really good, and it's the accent is something you can overlook. Like now, back then, I'm sure it was a surprise for everybody, but I mean, they all you got over that. It's still a very good movie. I mean, Vampire. This is probably to me, the best iteration of Dracula, despite it having different endings. It's about romance instead of like a vengeful killing, like Van Helsing killed him in the first one. But I mean, afterwards, after the 90s, I haven't seen a better Dracula. I haven't seen a better Dracula since, and I mean, it's really good. I mean,
well, I mean, I know a few vampires myself.
I mean, I'm sure you do, because you're a talking skeleton. I mean, what's your favorite vampire movie?
Well, I mean, I can't really see too many of them.
Why is that?
I don't have the stomach for it.
Well, that's our show, everybody. If you want to see more of Jeff and I, you can always watch us here at Monsters, Movies, and Mayhem, aka MMM, or as I like to say,
Monsters, Movies, and Mayhem.